Give me the backstory in a play-by-play of you being in Vegas, why you was in Vegas, and you taking the last picture of Tupac.
I got to Vegas Saturday that day. Me and my boy I went down there with at the last minute. We were standing in the lobby of the MGM, and we just decided to sell our tickets that we had, and we hung out for a little while. Watch everybody come in, and actually, while we were standing there, Tupac and his crew, they walked past us. I probably, I thought maybe I'll see him later, so I didn't really, try to go approach him or anything. It was, a lot going on. So, yeah, and we just hung out in the, in the lobby, and then we went back across the street to our hotel. We were hanging out at the, in the casino, shooting dice, playing slot machines. And then, after the fight was over, everybody, was going their way or whatever, hanging out. And how I got to the point where I took the picture was I was hungry. I wanted to get something to eat, so I called one restaurant, and they were closed, and I didn't understand why they were closed. It's a strip, or it was Vegas. And so then I called California Pizza Kitchen, and I placed an order with them, and I told them I was going to come pick it up. And so I told my boy I was with, I said, hey, I'm going to pick up my food. And then went to valet, got my car, and was driving, going to California Pizza Kitchen. And, was driving on the strip, it was a little traffic, people were still in, all with the excitement, yelling Tyson, Tyson, there was a lot of people on the strip. So, I'm moving through the traffic that was there. And then I stopped at the light, and within, a couple of seconds of stopping, a car rolled up, and the wheels are what really caught my attention, because I'm in the cars, and I'm into that kind of lifestyle. So, like I said, the wheels caught my attention, and then I looked up towards the passenger, and it was Pac and Suge. And, I said, hey, what up, Pot? And then, he kind of looked, and then he recognized it. He said, oh, what up, man? And then I asked him, hey, where you guys going? He said, oh, we about to go to the club. You should follow us. I said, oh, okay, cool. And then for some reason, man, I just said, let me get a picture. Why? I don't know. My camera was right there in my console, and I grabbed my camera and snapped the picture. And then, like, maybe a second or two after I snapped the picture, the light changed green. And so then they took off, and then a few cars that were with them, I recognized the cars, because I've seen the cars, in L.A. So I let them go by, and then I got behind them. I mean, we were driving, so I just kind of, like, slowly was driving, and I let them get past me up, and then I got behind them. And then we got to I can't remember the street. We got to the light, and we made a right turn. And while I was doing that, while I was driving, I was calling California Pizza Kitchen to cancel my food order, because just did that. I wasn't gonna go pick my food up, so I was calling to cancel my order. So we made the right turn, and then while I was talking, I was kind of looking down, and all I heard was pop, pop, pop. I heard some noise. I looked up, and then saw a couple of guys jump out of their cars, and they ran towards. I was 4 cars back from Tupac, from their car, and so I just saw them get out the car, and I just kind of like looked around, and then all of a sudden I saw the BMW come from out of the lane and make a big wide U-turn, and then I saw the guys running back, and one of the guys that was with them, one of them tried to open my door to get in, but my door was locked. And so then they ran and, went and got in another car. And then I just got caught up into the, all the little melee, and I made the wide U-turn with them. And then we got back to the strip, and I saw Suge make the left turn, and he went up on the curb. I'm pretty sure you guys seen the pictures, but he went up on the curb, and that's how he got the flat tires on the passenger side. And so he still was driving, and then, we all went through the intersection, and it was, still a little traffic, and, what happened? Oh, and then he got to the other intersection, other light, and he kind of like made a wide left turn, and then he just stopped. And then I got into the turning lane. I was right behind his security guards, or the Lexus, which was who was driving, Frank was driving, and I was behind them, behind that car. And then the police on the on the bicycles, they rode up real quick and just pulled out their guns. And I heard was Suge was saying, "Oh man, pocket shot." And, they were giving their orders, whatever they were saying. And then, within, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes or so of that, a cop came to me with a shotgun and cocked it, and then opened my door and snatched me out of the car and threw me down on the ground. And while I was, laying down on the ground, I kind of see, Suge and them ran over to the car, and then the police, they was standing on the passenger side with Pop, looking at him. I couldn't really see everything at that time, but they were standing there over the car. And then, they just, the ambulance showed up, and then all the, police cars came, and then a bunch of looky-loos showed up. And yeah, and the police had us jacked up for a little while.
Did you have any knowledge of the fight Tupac had with Orlando Anderson prior to you taking his last picture?
No, I didn't hear anything about that. I didn't know anything about that.
Did Tupac say anything to you before you took the picture?
Well, while I was taking the picture, no, he just told me, to follow him to the club.
Did he seem nervous or, worried about anything because he just had a fight a few hours before that?
Well, just from knowing now, he didn't seem, out of place to me.
Did the police ask you about the incident since you was pretty much the last person to see Tupac alive?
Well, what happened was they questioned me. They after they pulled me out the car. They was searching my car. And asked me, what was I doing? And I said, I was out there. I was just cruising. And all of a sudden, all these cars come, flying by me, and then you guys pull me out the car. And at that time, I was kind of like lying to them because I didn't know what was really going on. So I wasn't trying to get caught up in anything because I didn't know, what was really going on. So they said that, well, we have some other witnesses that were in the parking structure said that they saw your vehicle following behind the black BMW. And I was like, nah, I just saw them, and I had just took a picture of Tupac, maybe a few minutes before, and I wasn't with him. And so he said, "You sure?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm sure." So then, they took all my information. I told them the hotel I was staying at, and what was going on. Gave them my ID, all the normal stuff that the police do. So they kept me there for about 30 minutes, and while I was there, I saw them put Tupac into the ambulance, and and everybody, well, not everyone, but everybody that was part of his entourage, they stayed there. The police had us all jacked up, so they let they didn't let them go to the hospital. So after, like I said, for about 30 minutes of being there, the cops came back to me and said, we have all your information. You free to go. Oh, okay, cool. So got back into my truck and I went back to my hotel. And while I was on my way back to the hotel, I called my friend that I knew that worked at Death Row. I called her and I told her what had happened, and she didn't know. So she was just like, oh, for real? She was just shocked. And we got off the phone. So then I got back to the hotel and valeted my car and went back to the casino. I'm telling my friend what happened, and I was just telling the story, and then then within a couple minutes of doing that, of talking to him, I get a tap on my shoulder. And I look around, it's the same officers that jacked me up, that had me jacked up. And I was like, what's going on? He said, oh, Mr. Jefferson, we fucked up. The detectives want you back at the scene. I said, how did you guys find me? And he said, we're the police. I said, man, all these people here, you found me. I mean, I told them, where I was staying and this, that, and the other, but it's just shocking that they found me just like that. So then they said, yeah, we need you to come back to the scene. We see your Suburban still outside. I said, it is? They're like, what? I had gave it to the valet. He said, well, they must have not have taken it down yet. I said, okay. He said, well, you can ride with me, and I'm gonna have my partner drive your Suburban back to the scene. I said, okay. So I walked outside. I asked my buddy, so I said, you gonna go with me? And he said, no, I'm cool. I'm gonna stay right here. And so then I walk out, get in the police car. The other officer drives my Suburban. We were literally like about 2 blocks away. So we get back to the scene. They told me to sit in the car and wait. So I sat in the car and waited. And then, I saw them going talking to the detectives. The detectives kind of acknowledged, kind of waved, and I kind of like shook my head. And then the cop came back to me and said, the detective will come, talk to you in a little bit. You can just sit right here. So I sat there for about maybe 15 minutes or so in the car. And then one of the detectives came over, took me out of the car, and he had my card, when I gave my information to the officer earlier in the night, he had that card with my information on it. He said, "Oh, you're from Los Angeles." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, you coming for the fight?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "So tell me about what happened." And I said, "Well, I was going to get something to eat, and I saw Tupac, and I took a picture of him." He said, "Oh, you took a picture?" I said, "Yeah." And did you take a picture of the shooting? I was like, "No, I just took the picture right here." And the ironic part of it is that where I took the picture is where the car came back to arrest at. So that same intersection where I took the picture is where the car where the police had us jacked up at.
Wow.
So yeah, so then he asked me, what did I see? I was like, I didn't see anything. He said, well, some of our other officers said that they saw your Suburban with Tupac in his entourage. I said, yeah, well, I was right here on the strip with him. And he said, you weren't there with the shooting? You didn't see the shooting? I was like, nah, I didn't see anything. He's like, you sure? I was like, yeah. And, I just, it was just, I didn't know what was going on. So that was my story, and I was sticking with it. you know. So he was pointing out some of the guys that were sitting on the curb, some of the outlaws. He was pointing out those guys, and he said, "Do you know any of them?" I said, "Nah, I don't know of any of them." And so then he said, "Okay, well, we got to interview a few more people. You just have a seat." So he sat me down on the curb next to some of the guys, the outlaws and whatever, So I would just kind of had like small talk with him and just asked him, did you hear about, how Tupac was doing? And he's like, no, and they were kind of heated because they couldn't leave, they couldn't go see what was going on, so they didn't know, how he was doing. So, a few minutes passed by, and then the detective came back and said, "Hey, you have your camera?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's in my car." And he said, "Well, we want to, see what you have on your camera, see if you, took any pictures of see if there's anything in the background or whatever that we, that can help us." And so I said, "Sure." I said, "I think I got like a couple of more exposures left." It was a 35 millimeter camera, so it filmed back then. So I think I had a couple of more. Now I realized that my camera had like the self rewind, where you didn't have to snap all the pictures. You could just press the rewind button, and it will rewind it back into the cartridge. So that way you didn't have to take all the pictures. So I pressed the rewind button, took the film out, gave it to him. He gave me his card, with information on it. And then he said that, we'll be in contact with you. And then he sat me back down on the curb. And I sat on that curb till about maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, from like 12:30, 1 o'clock. So I was there, for an awful long time. And then, and then, he said that after we sat there, they interviewed everybody, and then all the people, once people heard it was Tupac that got shot, everybody was coming over there, news media, just like I said, looky-loos. And then they let me go, and I went back to the hotel. I called my friend, said I'm on my way back, and I didn't even feel like staying. I was kind of tired. I let him drive back out, picked him up, and we drove back to LA that same morning.
So when you got back to LA, did the police get back in contact with you about the pictures?
Like Monday, I think it was either Monday or Tuesday, I called the detective, just following up with him. Hey, I'm just checking it, checking on my film and, see when you guys are going to return it. And he said, "Oh, we haven't developed yet. We're still processing a lot of evidence and questioning people." I said, "Okay." So then he said, "Well, we'll give you a call, maybe at the end of the week to let you know, what's going on." So then he called me. No, I called him on Thursday, and he said they still haven't processed it yet. They're going to do it that day. So he told me to call him tomorrow, meaning Friday. So I Friday came, called him, kind of like in the afternoon, and then he said, "Yeah, well, we developed it. We'll be sending you back your negative, and we'll be sending you back the negatives." They kept the pictures that they developed, but they just sent me back the negative. So they said they were going to send it back to me, so I gave them the address to send it to. And then that Friday, Tupac died on the 13th. So I was like, oh, wow, it's just, I was just kind of like blown away, just being there and, and just being part.
I can only
Go
imagine,
ahead, what'd you say?
I can only imagine how LA was, like the reaction when it was announced that Tupac died, man.
Oh man, I was driving on the freeway, man, and back then it was 92.3 the beat. And Theo, he was a popular disc jockey. He was on the air, and he's like, I just was like scanning the channels, and it was just kind of like, wow, it just, it hit me really because, like I said, I was there and I saw everything. I was like, wow, just part of, just being part of the whole little situation. And so then fast forward to Monday. So I called them on Monday, the detective, to follow up, see when he was going to send out my film. He said, yeah, we're going to FedEx it out today. You'll get it tomorrow. So Tuesday came, got the FedEx, opened the FedEx envelope up, and I took it to Beverly Hills to one of those 1 hour photos, and they developed. I sat there while they developed it, and while I was sitting there waiting for it to be developed, my phone was like ringing, like I'm seeing these strange numbers, like the hell. So I'm answering it. He said, yeah, this is such calling from whatever news agency. Yeah, we heard you have photos of the crime scene of Tupac. I was like, huh? What? Where did you? So then, I mean, literally, I was getting calls like for at least 2 hours straight, like different numbers were popping up, and I'm like, how the hell these people get my information, get my name and number? And obviously, it was the police because they're the only ones that knew that I took the picture and who I was. So then, I called my attorney and I told my attorney what was going on, and he referred me to an entertainment attorney, and I met with him. Actually the same day, on Tuesday, the same day, and he said, what do you want to do? I was like, well, I don't want to do anything. I'm just calling you, letting you know I'm getting all these calls, and I want to see how to proceed with it, and our attorney, he knew Keith Clinksdale. Keith Clinksdale at the time was the publisher of B.I.G magazine, which Quincy Jones owned at the time. So Keith Clinksdale happened to be in L.A., so the attorney had him come in, so he brought him in, and they were, he looked at the picture, and then he said, I want to verify some things. So he in turn called Kidada, and he described the picture, what Tupac was wearing and blah blah, what he had on, because no one knew what he had on other than the police and the people that were with him. And so she verified. She said, yeah, he went to another room, so I didn't really hear, but he came back and he said, yeah, she verified, this is, what he had on. And, all the while, I'm still getting calls. So I'm referring them to the attorney and telling them, you need to call him and, discuss whatever, because they want to interview me and, just see what I had to say. And I didn't do any interviews. I didn't do any. They wanted me to do like on TV and like radio, and like I was being offered money to do it. And I turned it down because I didn't know. I didn't know what surrounded everything. I didn't want my face to be associated with associated with it. And so I literally turned down hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Wow.
Because people were paying me they wanted to pay me, to interview me. And so, I just didn't do it. So fast forward again, wind up Vibe wind up getting an exclusive with the photo, and and the rest is history. It's out there. I never did anything with the photo. It was always handled by. I had a publishing company that handled it at the time, which was called Corvus Outline, and they in turn, handled as far as it being distributed and however with the media and things like that. So I didn't have anything to do with it. I did a couple interviews. I did it with some magazines, but I never did anything on TV. So, that's it.
Let me ask you a question. What was your reaction? Because I don't think I asked you this earlier. What was your personal reaction when all this was happening? Like when Tupac got shot in Vegas? Like at that particular moment, was it like surreal to you?
Yeah, man, it was like I just literally just had a conversation with him. Not like a full on conversation, but I just spoke to him, and within a couple of minutes, he gets shot. Like we literally made a right turn, and then within stopping at that light, it was man, I sometimes I have flashbacks of it, but man, it's just just being a part of it, and just knowing how things were with him, and how much of a I was a fan of his, and and just how he impacted a lot of things, and even to this day, a lot of things that that he talked about and rapped about, and it's still going on to this day, and I was talking to another celebrity, and they said that he's a throwback. At his time, he was a throwback because of how he was back then and how things are now. It still is, it's still relevant.